presentation, we will take a look at the differences between a wired network and a wireless network. We'll compare them by cost, reliability, speed, and functionality. We'll also talk about security and mitigation strategies. Wired network. Now, the OSI model differs at the physical layer and the data link layer. Let's start by saying that the physical layer and the data link layer work together in the transmission of the data. What happens at the physical layer on a wired connection is the signal will transfer from a digital bits to a copper or fiber wire to send that data. However, a physical layer will determine and also recognize a wireless network. Then the physical layer will transfer the bits into radio waves in which the data is sent. A wireless network. On the other hand, the wireless connection needs no wire connection in order to send or receive data. So, for the wireless connection, the data is sent through the Wi-Fi connection. The wired network is a lot faster, however, than a wireless connection. This is because a wireless network connection has obstructions such as walls, floors, and ceilings. On the other hand, a wired network connection has no obstructions unless the traffic is stopped by a firewall, such as or another security device or software for some reason. When it comes to security, a wired network is much more secure because the access to the data would have to go through a physical wire. This means that the attacker would have to gain access to your network in order to see or take your data. As opposed to the wireless network connection, it is less secure. The wired connection is less secure because of the radio waves it's sent through the radio waves associated with the wireless connection. Wireless connection could be intercepted, however, and if the device does not have encryption configured, the data would be visible. Now, when it comes to functionality or convenience, the wired network is more equipment is needed, I should say, and there's more work needed as well. Such devices like routers and switches and computers and even printers, uh, you'll need to configure. And of course, you'll need the wires to set that all up, connect them all together. You'll need copper wire or fiber optic wire, coaxial, um, and it's much more work. It's just way much more work to configure a wire. And as you can imagine, it costs more to buy all those devices, the firewalls, switches, routers, um, anything else that you would need on your want to configure onto your network. So yeah, it's much more costly than a wireless network. And for the wireless network, you only need a modem and a wireless router in order to set the network up and have it running. And needless to say, yeah, that's much more easier to install and configure. I'm sure you guessed it by now. That costs a lot less. So a wireless network is way less uh, expensive in order to configure that network and get it up and running. Way cheaper. wireless network. I'll talk about the security risks, wired network versus a wireless network. When it comes to the security risk for a wired network versus a wireless network, the wired network is more secure because there are more security devices that can be configured in layers in order to better protect the data on that network. However, a wireless network does not have those layers configured, so it makes it much easier for an attacker to intercept the data, as we mentioned before. So there's more risk when running a wireless network. For example, a wired network could not fall victim to a war driving attack like a wireless network. So yeah, wired network is way more secure than a wireless network. That brings us to mitigation strategies to try and prevent uh, such attacks. A good thing to do, a good idea, best practice, I should say, is change your default passwords. This prevents hackers from using the default password to access your data. Another good idea would be to restrict access. You can actually whitelist or blacklist traffic that is wanted or unwanted. Wanted to better manage your traffic, you can use access control lists, things of that nature. Um, Also, encryption, encrypting your data is a very good idea. This keeps an attacker from reading if they were to break into your network, your data. By using encryption protocols such as TLS, SSL, SSH, and asymmetric and symmetric encryption to protect your data is a very good idea. Also, you can use a VPN. That's a good form of encryption in keeping your data protected from the outside world. Also, another good idea would be to protect your service set identifier. You can do this by changing the default name of your Wi-Fi and creating a unique and strong password. The longer, the stronger, I always say. And keep your software and applications and devices updated. That's always a must. Also, install a firewall. That's another security layer. You can also maintain and update your anti-software. Just as it says, you just do that and keep yourself sane and secure. There's also sharing files. You got to do that carefully. Make sure that those are encrypted when sending them through. That's a good asymmetric and symmetric is a good way to send those files. Keep them secure and encrypted. And of course, you'll always want to keep your network patched. Uh, if you leave vulnerabilities, it's much easier for hackers to get into your system. So you got to keep that stuff updated. And lastly, but not least, you got to always think about your unique, unique security for wireless. We'll talk about that in the operational attribute. For unique security, we have a wired equivalent privacy. That is a encryption protocol, security protocol. It's been used. It's not the newest. So after that came the um, wireless protected access, which is another security protocol for wireless networks. And the one that's being used mostly today and is most secure is WPA2, which is wireless protected access, the second version. Um, so yeah, these are all Wi-Fi security protocols, and they just protect the access. It's suggested to keep things encrypted, so to stay safe. And then as far as operational attributes, um, You can optimize the usage. Wireless networks uh, were originally planned for coverage only, but with all the smartphones and tablets and laptops, uh, you can pretty much put it on anything and be anywhere. Another thing is the scalability. If you need to grow your network, it's just so much easier to connect wireless uh, uh, routers and more modems and just configure IP addresses. It's just a lot easier than building a whole network. Getting a data center and racks and wires and all the devices is just makes sense. And accessibility, of course, like I said before, this allows you to go indoors, outdoors. It just makes it a lot easier for conducting business in today's fast corporate world. With that said, uh, that's my presentation for the differences between a wireless network and a wired network.